I've spoken to every mayoral candidate that will come on our radio show, and of all of those mayoral candidates, I believe that Alice Rowley is the best. That's just me talking to you. I don't know where you fall on it. I expect that there will be a runoff, and a lot of Nashvillians, a lot of Davidson Countyans are putting their eggs in the basket that is Freddie O'Connell. And I've had Freddie on the show. I don't know how, as a Metro councilor, you cannot have a position on the renovation of the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. He refused to take a position on that with me, kind of hedged his bets on the Titans Stadium as well. And, you know, I'm just telling you that doesn't sit very well with me. Another individual who is certainly not in favor of Freddie O'Connell is a man by the name of Steve Smith, and I wanted to get to know this person after I saw this political advertisement.
Meet Flip-Flop Fred. Fred voted no to the new stadium deal, no to the restoration of the historic Fairgrounds Speedway proposal, no to safer streets with license plate reader technology, and no to cleaning up homeless encampments in our city parks. But Flip-Flop Fred voted yes 3 times for the largest property tax increase in Nashville history. Flip-Flop Fred will say anything to get elected, but his record tells the truth. Don't elect Flip-Flop Fred.
All right, my wife loves that commercial because of the way the guy says Flip-Flop Fred, and I know it was difficult to hear because I played you a clip that was recorded off a television, so I apologize for that. But Flip-Flop Fred is the results of architect of the ad, or at least the guy that paid for the ad, Steve Smith. And he joins us on the Matt Murphy hotline to talk about the future of Nashville, Tennessee, and how he sees this election going. Steve, thanks for spending some time with us today. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
Why is this so important to you? I've heard your name a lot. I know that you're a business owner in town, and I know you are adamantly against Freddie O'Connell becoming the next mayor of Nashville. Tell us why.
Well, Freddie's been our downtown council member for the last 8 years, and all the business people down there voted for Freddie at one time, and we all supported him, gave him money 8 years ago. Then couldn't get a return phone call after that. I've called Freddie several times, never called us back, never tried to work with Bill Lee about trying to get us open, even though John Cooper wouldn't let us get open after every other county in the state was open. And we sat down there and starved to death for about 18 months. And Freddie must have been on vacation because he wouldn't return any of my phone calls.
And for those who don't know, Steve, you own businesses downtown. I mean, obviously, Tootsies is a business that everybody knows about, and it's an absolute icon establishment downtown. And even a place like yours that has lived for so long in the city of Nashville, I mean, I imagine you suffered mightily because politicians refused to allow businesses and customers to make their own decisions like our founding fathers intended.
Only 2 politicians in Nashville, that's Freddie O'Connell and John Cooper. Thank God for Bill Lee for keeping the pressure on long enough that finally got the whole state back open. But on another note with that, Freddie hasn't been at home at all as far as the business people downtown. He's neglected us 100%. He hasn't done anything to help us with valet lanes or loading lanes. Only thing he wants to concentrate on is a bicycle lane downtown. And traffic downtown moves at about 15, 20 mile an hour. Worst place in the world you have a bicycle lane. And then I see all these bicycle lanes everywhere, but I don't see no bicycles in them.
I see scooters.
So I've seen some scooters, but they're not supposed to be in them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does.
So at the end of the day, Freddie's probably found a way to spend the taxpayers' money that don't benefit anybody but himself somehow or another. And we just don't need a representative like that running the city of Nashville. We need a real business leader running the city of Nashville. And Freddie's not that guy. He voted against the Fairgrounds Speedway, which I was raised in South Nashville. Big fan of the Fairgrounds Speedway. He voted against the stadium, which without the Titans here, that's billions of dollars worth of tourists that we'll lose without the Titans, without the soccer team, without and the racing's going to add to it. I mean, I'm all for the soccer team, the football team.
Sure.
If we don't have everything that we can get in place in this city to bring more tourists to this city, we're missing the ball. At the end of the day, the tourists are making up tax dollars like you would not believe. We raised 25% 25% of our liquor tax goes to all Tennessee state schools, all Tennessee state highways for sales tax. And there's more state highways in Davidson County than there is metro highways. At the end of the day, without them businesses downtown, you think your property taxes are high now? They're going to go through the roof.
Well, and Steve Smith is our guest, talking about his ads against Freddie O'Connell and his participation, offering his voice in the mayoral debate. You know, Steve, I've only been here about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I try not to, tell folks their business before I understood what's going on. But I have to remind people, it's easy for Freddie to attack the bachelorettes, what he calls the bachelorettes and the billionaires. But the bachelorettes are part of the reason that we don't pay income taxes in the state of Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Because tourism matters, and you've got to cultivate that and keep it fresh and make sure that it's something that people want to come to see. Right now, downtown Lower Broadway, it is hopping and happening. But if you don't nurture that and make sure you have a good business-government relationship, it'll dry up and go away, as you well know.
You're exactly right. And the billionaires come to town, too, and they spend money, too. So don't be mad at your money. Be glad that the money's coming here to help support this state and this city. And Freddie O'Connell's not the guy to deliver that message. It's plain to see. The only thing he could think about is maybe a bicycle lane and playing football in a park, which I guarantee you that commercial is the first football he's ever had in his hand.
He also was on our show recently, Steve, and I know you're a busy guy and you probably didn't hear it, but it's up on our podcast. And I asked him as a Metro councilor, not even as a mayoral candidate, where he was on the fairgrounds renovation. And he looked me in the face and said that he hadn't studied it enough. I was amazed. This thing's been around for 6 years. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out where you are. And I think he's just trying to have it both ways. I think if Freddie O'Connell becomes the next mayor, the fairgrounds is dead. The Speedway.
The fairgrounds is dead. Downtown Nashville is dead. Broadway's going to dry up. The tourists are going to leave this town. It's worse than you can ever imagine. You think Chicago is bad? You think L.A. is bad? Elect Freddie. It will be nothing but bums sleeping in the street and defunding the police department.
Have you? What do you make of this new kind of shifting gears? The Metro Council I saw last night is considering some sort of noise ordinance, and my initial take on it, Steve, was pretty simple. I know exactly what I'm walking into when I walk downtown to Lower Broadway, right? I expect to hear country music filtering out into the street. Have you studied this noise ordinance proposal they've made at all?
I have. I've been in several meetings with it, and we finally got the bill where it didn't really hurt our musicians downtown, and it doesn't really hurt the honky-tonk sound. But they was trying to pretty much kill the musicians and kill the honky-tonks. But the bill's now turned around to where it's about where it was before. We've had a bill in place for the last, I say, 15 years that had a noise ordinance, and we had noise meters we had to go by for the decibel levels. And like I explained to the nighttime mayor down there the other day, I said, at the end of the day, OSHA and federal government monitors our noise levels inside our bars and our restaurants. And if we get over decibels and we get caught over decibels, we get a big fine. So we don't need another division telling us we're too loud downtown. We've got the federal government telling us that regularly. And they're not saying we're too loud. They just keep us under a noise ordinance that's doable for everybody.
While I have you on the phone, Steve, it occurs to me that you'd be the best person to ask this question, because I've had people telling me that Lower Broad is, quote-unquote, changing, and I don't know if that's real or not real. You've been there since the beginning of the revitalization of Lower Broadway. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you bought Tootsies back in the early 1990s when there wasn't a lot going on down there. What do you make of where we are, Lower Broad, right now, and what, if anything, can be done to make it better?
Well, Lower Broad came a long ways by the time Carl Dean left office. Carl Dean understood the businessman, and so did Bredesen. So we had some couple really good mayors there that really helped bring Nashville a long ways, keep us a long ways down the road. Since Carl Dean's administration, the politicians that we've had in office there have been more of the politicians of L.A., Chicago, and it's a mess. When I say it's a mess, they will not allow the police officers, especially John Cooper, will not allow the police are sleeping on the sidewalks. If you go down to the Dollar General store there behind the diner, we own the diner. There, I hadn't been there in probably a month, but there was nothing for sale on the shelves there pretty much but mouthwash. And their biggest customer is the bum downtown because no liquor stores downtown and he can't afford to go buy drinks. And we're not going to let them in our establishments. So they buy mouthwash and drink it. So if you don't know how bad downtown's got, it's gotten pretty bad because of the politicians. And Freddie O'Connell is the 8-year politician that's been responsible for that.
So it's pretty obvious that you're against Freddie O'Connell. Do you have a candidate in this fight? Or are you supporting anyone, Steve? Or are you just kind of trying to get anybody but Freddie in the office?
Anybody but Freddie. I like Matt. I like Jeff. I like Alice. I mean, I think any candidate right now would be better than Freddie O'Connell.
Well, Steve, I appreciate you popping on with us and offering your suggestions. I know that we've been seeing a lot about them, and more than anything, I just wanted to thank you for bringing some joy into the Murphy household because every time your flip-flop Fred ad comes on, my wife is howling. She thinks it's the fun. She thinks it's the. I don't know what part of your team came up with the concept of flip-flop Fred, if that was you or somebody else, but thank you for that because it is. You got to take a little humor in this race. I know it's a serious matter, particularly for a business owner like yourself, but well done on you.
Well, I can't take credit for that. Some friends of mine came up with it that's also in the business. But at the same time, one thing I got to say is do not elect Freddie. Go to the polls today. Vote for anybody but Freddie.
Steve, thanks for being with us, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Take care, my friend.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. There's Steve Smith, who has a vested interest in opposing Freddie O'Connell, according to him, saying that he is no friend of downtown Nashville and no friend of the business owner in the city.
On the 5th, I will have been working here 8 years, and out of that 8 years, I've done your show for the last year.